by Frank G. Tompkins. We're in the living room of a suburban home in the 1920s. It's nighttime. We see a well-dressed man take a bite of a sandwich just before examining a vase. He picks it up, looks at the bottom, and puts it down.
Imitation.
Suddenly he pauses to listen, looks about him hurriedly for some place to hide, thinks better of it, and stands, smiling pleasantly and expectantly. The door opens, and a man and woman enter. She stifles a scream. They face the thief and stare at him, not sure what they ought to say or do.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. You surprised me. Can't say I expected you home so soon. Was the play an awful bore? Well, can't one of you speak? I can carry on a conversation alone, but the Q&A method is usually preferred.
You're a thief.
Exactly. And you, madam? The mistress of the house, I presume. Or are you another thief? The traditional one that it takes to catch the first one.
This is our house. Charles, why don't you do something? Don't stand there like a... Make him go away. Tell him he mustn't take anything. What have you taken? Give it to me instantly. How dare you?
I say, old man, you'd better clear out. Be sensible now. I don't want to use force.
I wouldn't want you to.
If you've got anything of ours, we aren't helpless, you know.
You're not armed, I know that. I threw your revolver down the cold air shaft. Never carry one myself in business hours. Yours was at the bottom of your bureau drawer. Bad shape those bureau drawers were in. Nice and neat on top, rat's nest below. Always tell your man by his bureau drawers. Didn't it ever occur to you that the thief might drop in on you at some night? What would he think of you?
I don't think...
You should. I said to myself when I opened that drawer, they put up a great surface, but they're shams. Probably streak runs through everything they do. You ought to begin with real neatness. This other sort of thing is just a form of dishonesty.
You talking to us about honesty in this, our house?
Oh, just the place for honesty.
Charles, I won't stand for this. Grab him, search him. You hold him and I'll telephone.
You can't.
You've cut the wires?
Didn't have to. Your telephone service has been cut off by the company. I found that out before I came. I suspect you neglected to pay the bill. Inconvenienced me this evening. Better get it put in right away.
Charles, do I have to stand here and be insulted?
Sit down, won't you please? Oh, this is your last ham sandwich, so I can't offer you any, but there's plenty of beer in the cellar, if you care for it. I don't recommend it, but perhaps you're used to it.
Charles, are you going to let him preach to us all night? I won't have it. Being lectured by a thief?
You can't stop a man's talking, my dear. Especially this sort of man. Can't you see he's a born preacher? Oh, man, let me tell you that you've missed your calling.
Oh, Charles, don't talk to him. Try to hold him, and I'll get his feet.
You'd be taking an unfair advantage. I couldn't hit a lady, could I? Besides, there are two of you. You leave it to Charles and me. Let's have fair play, at least.
Fair play? I'd like to know.
Please don't screech. My head aches and your voice pierces so. Let's sit down quietly and discuss the situation like well-bred people. And when we've come to some understanding, I'll go.
Yes, after you've taken everything in the house and criticized everything else you can't take, our manners and our morals.
But he isn't taking anything now, is he?
Hmm.
Let the poor chap criticize, can't you? I don't suppose he often meets his customers socially. He's just dying for a good old visit.
Hmm.
Lonesome profession, isn't it, old man?
Look, if you won't do anything, Charles, I'll call the neighbors.
No neighbors to call. Nearest one a block away, and he isn't at home. That comes of living in a fashionable suburb. Don't believe you can afford it either. Won't you sit down, madam? I can't until you do.
Hmm.
Well, then I shall have to stand, and I've been on my feet all day. It's hardly considerate. Have a cigarette?
Thank you. I don't care to smoke with a thief.
Huh, that's right. Better not smoke anyway. I'm so old-fashioned. I hate to see women smoke. None of the women in my family do it.
No doubt you got them from a man of taste.
Oh, your next-door neighbor. This was his case. Exquisite taste. Great friends, or perhaps you don't move in the same circles. Oh, pardon me, tactless of me, but how could I guess?
Truth is, we don't know the Hempsteads. They've never called.
That's right, Charles. Tell the truth and shame you know who.
Charles, there isn't any reason, I'm sure.
I'm sorry, but I must decline to discuss your social prospects with you, much as we should all enjoy it. Let's get down to business. The question we've got to decide, and decide very quickly, is what would you like to have me take?
Lord, what would we like to have you take? What? Why, you can't take anything now. We're here. Of all the nerve.
You've got me, old man. I may be slow, but I don't for the moment see the necessity for your taking anything.
I was afraid of this. I'll have to begin farther back. Look here now. Just suppose I go away and I don't take anything. How would you like that?
Well, suits me to a T. How about you, my dear?
Hmm.
Think you could stand that?
Don't be sarcastic. It isn't fair to me when I'm trying to help you. Here I am trying to get you out of a mighty ticklish situation, and you go and get funny. It isn't right.
Beg pardon, old man. Try us in words of one syllable. You see, this is a new situation for us, but we're anxious to learn.
Well, listen then. See if you can't follow this. Now, there's nothing in your house that I want. Nothing that for a moment I could contemplate keeping without a good deal of pain to myself.
We're trying to spare you, but if you care to know, we had the advice of Elsie de Wolf.
Elsie de Wolf? Elsie, how could you? Now, if you'd asked me to guess, I should have said the Pullman Company. I shudder to think of owning any of this bric-a-brac myself, but it must be done. Here am I offering to burden myself with something I don't want, wouldn't keep for worlds, and couldn't sell. Why do I do this?
Yes, why do you?
Hush, Charles. It's a rhetorical question. He wants to answer it himself.
I do it to accommodate you. Imagine that I go away, refusing to take anything in spite of your protests. Imagine it's tomorrow. The police and the reporters have caught wind of the story. Something has been taken from every house in Sargent Road, except one. The nature of the articles shows that the thief is a man of rare discrimination, to be quite frank, a connoisseur.
A connoisseur of what?
And a connoisseur of such judgment that to have him pass your Rubens by is to cast doubt upon its authenticity. I do not exaggerate. Let me tell you that from the Hempsteads, no, that would take too long. The public immediately asks, why did the thief take nothing from 2819 Sargent Road? The answer is too obvious. There is nothing worth taking at 2819 Sargent Road.
Hmm.
The public laughs. Worse still, the neighbors laugh. What becomes of social pretensions after that? It's a serious thing, laughter is. It's a serious thing to have a thief pass you by. People have been socially marooned for less than that. Now, what would you like to have me take?
Now, old man, I say, that's neat. Sure you aren't a lawyer?
Well, I have studied the law, but not from that side.
It's all bosh. Why couldn't we claim we'd lost something very valuable, something we never had?
That's the most shameless proposal I've ever heard. Yes, you could lie about it. I can't conceal from you what I think of your moral standards.
I can't imagine you concealing anything unpleasant.
Charles, you're a trump. I'll even take that picture for your sake.
Well, wait a minute. You won't have to. Say, Clara, where is that old picture of Cousin Paul? It's just as bad as it pretends to be, if genuineness is all you want.
Who is Cousin Paul?
Cousin of mine. Lives on a farm near Madison, Wisconsin.
You don't claim the picture is by Sargent or Whistler?
It couldn't be.
Do you, Charles?
Certainly not. It's a watercolor of the purest kind.
I'll take Cousin Paul. Probably he has human interest.
Ah, that's the last thing I should have thought of in connection with Cousin Paul.
Bring him. But wrapped, please. My courage might fail me if I saw him face to face.
Mine always does.
While Charles is wrapping up the picture, I want to know how you got back so early. Your maid said you were going to the Garrick.
We told her so. But we went to the moving pictures.
Oh, you ought not to go to the movies. It will destroy your literary taste and weaken your minds.
I don't care for them myself, but Charles won't see anything else.
You ought to make him. Men only go to the theater anyway because their wives take them. They'd rather stay at home or play billiards. You have a chance right there. Charles will go where you take him. By and by, he will begin to like it. Now, tonight, there was a Granville Barker show at the Garrick, and you went to the movies to see a woman whose idea of cuteness is to act as if she had a case of arrested mental development.
Silly old films. Anyway, but Clara will go. Goes afternoons when I'm not here and then drags me off again in the evening. Here's your picture as soon as I get it tied up. Can't tell you how grateful we are.
That's hardly enough wrapping paper, Charles. Give me the picture.
Don't try to thank me. If you'll give up this shamming, I'll feel repaid for my time and trouble. But Jove, it's far too much time. I must make tracks this minute. I'll feel repaid if you'll take my advice about the theater, for one thing. And why don't you bundle all this imitation junk together and sell it and get one genuine good thing?
Who'd buy them?
There must be other people in the world with taste as infallibly bad as yours.
Call that honest?
Well, certainly. I'm not telling you to sell them as relics. You couldn't in the first place, except to a home for the aged and indigent blind. But I know a man who needs them. They'd rejoice his heart. They'd be things of beauty to him. I wish I could help you pick out something nice with your money, but I don't dare risk seeing you again.
Why not? There's honor among thieves.
Well, there is. If you were thieves, I'd know just how far to trust you. Now, I'd be willing to trust Charles as man to man, but Clara, I don't know. Oh, listen, there are footsteps on the porch. I've waited too long.
Well, you best hide.
No, it can't be done. If you'll play fair, I'm safe enough here in this room, safer than anywhere else. Pretend I'm a friend of yours. You will? Gentlemen's agreement?
Gentleman's agreement.
Gentlemen's agreement, but only in this. I haven't forgiven you for what you said. If I ever get you in a tight place, look out.
Don't tell more than one necessary lie. It's so easy to get started in that sort of thing. Stick to it that I'm a friend of the family and that I've been spending the evening. God knows I have.
I'll try to stick to that. But can't I improvise a little? It is such fun.
Not a bit, not one little white lie.
Well, it's a lady from the news. She says she was out here on another story and she's got a big scoop. There's been some artistic burglary in the neighborhood. I told her we hadn't lost anything and that we don't want to get into the papers, but she wants us to answer a few questions.
Please do. I need some stuff about the neighborhood.
I don't know, Charles, but that it's our duty. Something we say may help catch the thieves. Perhaps we owe it to law and order.
That's right. Would you object if I used your name?
I don't know that we should mind if you mention us nicely. Will the Hempsteads be mentioned in it? I shan't mind if they don't.
Good for you. Now, have you missed?
We have missed something. We haven't had time to look thoroughly, but we do know that one of our pictures is gone.
Ah, valuable picture. He hasn't taken anything that wasn't best of its class. Remarkable chap. Must be the same one that rifled the Pierpont collection of illuminated manuscripts, culled the finest pieces without a mistake.
He made one big mistake.
Know the Pierponts?
Well, I've been in their house.
Well, believe me, if he's taken anything, your reputation as collectors is made. Picture, eh? Old master, I suppose.
A family portrait. We treasured it for that. Associations, you know.
It must have been valuable, all right. Depend on him to know. He don't run away with any junk. Who was the artist?
Oh, we don't know, definitely.
Ever heard it attributed to anybody?
We don't care to make a point of such things. But there have been people who have thought it was not a Gilbert Stewart.
Clara?
I don't know much about such things myself. But our friend, Mr. Hibbard, who has some reputation as a collector, has always said that it was not, in spite of that fact. He had offered to take it off our hands.
Clara, you're going too far.
She's quite right. You are wrong, Mr. Hibbard. You may be good, but this fellow knows. Too bad you didn't take it while the taking was good. This fellow never sells. Of course, he can't exhibit, just loves beautiful things. No, sir, it was real.
No, it wasn't. Of all the...
You take your beating so ungracefully, Mr. Hibbard. The case, you see, is all against you.
Be careful. The picture may be found at any moment. Don't go too far.
I hardly think that it will be found unless the thief is caught. And I have such perfect confidence in his good sense that I don't expect that.
Lots of time for a getaway. When was he here?
Well, he was gone when we came from the theater, but we must almost have caught him. Some of our finest things were gathered together here on the table, ready for his flight. How he must have hated to leave them, all the miniatures and the cloisonne. I almost feel sorry for him.
I do.
You see, we went to the Garrick for the Granville Parker show. Mr. Hibbert took us. I'm devoted to the best in drama. And now we come home to find our... You sure it wasn't Gilbert Stewart? Gone.
I've got to be getting out of here. Can't stay a minute longer. Charles, I wish you luck in that reform we were speaking of, but I haven't much hope. There is such a thing as total depravity. Oh, here. What am I thinking? I was running away with your package.
Oh, but it's yours, Mr. Hibbert. I couldn't think of taking it. Really, you must keep it to remember us by. Put it among your art treasures at home, next to your lovely illuminated manuscripts. And whenever you look at it, remember us and this delightful evening. You must keep it. That's part of the bargain, isn't it? And now, are we even?
Even? Far from it. I yield you your woman's right to the last word, and I admit that it's the best. Good night, Clara. May I give you a ride lift back to town?
Thanks. As far as the Hempstead's corner. Good night. Thank you for this much help.
Thank goodness. They're gone. What a relief. You had me running around in circles, but he's got the picture, and we're safe at last. But don't you think, Clara, you took some awful risks? You goaded him pretty far.
I had to. Did you hear him call me Clara?
He had to. He doesn't know our name. But he wasn't a bad fellow, was he? I couldn't help but liking him in spite of his impudence.
You showed it. You took sides with him against me all the time the reporter was here. But you know, he was right about our house. It's all wrong. I believe I'll clear out this cabinet and have this room done over in mahogany.
Too expensive this winter.
Birch will do just as well. Nobody knows the difference. Listen, is he coming back?
Excuse me. Listen, Mr. Hibbert says you've given him the wrong package. He says you need this to go with the picture of your grandmother. And he says, sir, that you need to get wise to your own family. He's waiting for me. Good night.
Get wise to my own family? You may know all about art, but I guess I know my own relatives. I tell you, look, if this isn't a picture of my cousin Paul, I'll eat my... What? What the devil? Clara! Clara, you did that? You little cheat.